Alright, what is up, boys and girls? Welcome back to another video. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Please do drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and get involved down in the WhatsApp or the Telegram down below for some good stock picks this week. We're just taking a look at the stock market again today for another daily update. And as we can see, we've got the futures recovering somewhat this Monday morning after that big sell-off that we did see on the last week ending Thursday and Friday. We've seen a pretty incredible drop to the downside on the charts. If you take a quick look at the charts here, you will see but a pretty stark downside turn for quite a lot of stocks. On the hourly, you can see the hourly time frame, we have come down quite a significant amount. Obviously, this week we're probably going to see a bit of recovery and most likely continuation, but obviously off the back of the we had the massive, amazing earnings for Microsoft and Meta. But unfortunately, we did have obviously those tariff deadlines on Friday, which I think were looming large over the market in general. And we did see a sell-off, as you can see, on Thursday and Friday. Going into those tariff deadlines, as you would have expected, the market generally doesn't like uncertainty. And I think that uncertainty created an environment, we would say, where we could finally have a little bit of a cooling off period of this recent jump to the upside. You can see pretty much ever since we had this big V shape back here, we've been just continuing to the upside. Having a pretty nice correction here, but you can see starting to recover off of these lows. I'd probably expect this to recover back towards the all-time highs over the course of the next few weeks, unless we see some kind of big cataclysmic black swan type event to do with tariffs or some other kind of event, perhaps another world war potential, a war in some kind of region in the world that could potentially also lead to a bit of a dump in the markets. But overall, the main thing to be contending with, as you can see, stock futures jump as Wall Street tries to recover from the post-jobs report sell-off. We did see a lot of selling off last week because of that, I think mostly just because of, if I'm being honest, uncertainty surrounding the tariffs going into Friday. But you can see here, stock futures climbed on Monday as traders tried to claw back the steep losses seen in the previous session that was sparked by concerns over the economy and a new round of tariffs from the Trump administration. So as you can see, obviously the uncertainty surrounding the tariffs has led to a bit of uncertainty in the markets. You can see futures moved up around 0.6 to 0.7% respectively. Markets having a little bit of a rebound going into Monday. Obviously, there's a big gap to fill above now. Dropped around 1,000 points on NQ, Nasdaq 100 futures, which is interesting. You can see markets are rebounding after the post-job slump on Friday, but the sentiment turned notably last week as investors were forced to confront the stagflationary economic data. And obviously, we didn't have any interest rate changes either. Bulls are far from being defeated and continue to grip onto the narrative, but will require affirmation to gain confidence. You can see the Dow on Friday dropped more than 500 points, which is an incredible drop, to be fair. But overall, I think things are looking fine. There's some other big news going on. Berkshire Hathaway operating earnings dipped 4%, which is an interesting one. You can see Asia Pacific markets closed mostly higher. Things, I think, mostly across the world recovering after last week having a bit of a drop. Obviously, the uncertainty in the market has led to uncertainty in the price, and things have been dropping to the downside. But if I'm being completely honest, I think this is much more likely to go up than down from this area. And you can see ever since we opened, we have started to recover already, up about 50 points or so on this SP 500 index here. So overall, I think things are going to be fine. It's just going to take a little while for us to adjust and recover to this recent dip. But I think all with that uncertainty mostly behind us, we'll probably continue to the upside now. And you can see here, right now, the S&P 500 looking like it's poised, in my opinion, to potentially V-shape back up like this, back towards the all-time high, since we are permanently bullish. So a few bits of key news that we can go over. Then the main one is how much Amazon stock has been slumping over the past few days of trading. You can see Amazon stock rises pre-market after the steep decline over the cloud growth worries. You can see StockTwix, Amazon.com shares climb 1.4% in pre-market after an absolutely cataclysmic drop that they saw. A really big discount. Obviously, people are a bit concerned about sales and growth in terms of their cloud technologies. You can see AWS reported a 17.5% rise in sales, exceeding Wall Street's expectations, but investors were unimpressed when compared to the 39% and 32% growth rates for cloud units by Microsoft and Google. Obviously, Microsoft and Meta specifically had absolutely incredible pumps to the upside last week. A quick look at Microsoft, you can see this cataclysmic gap to the upside that we saw. And then obviously we got hit with the tariff worries and we did drop down to fill most of this gap. You can see Microsoft there up in pre-market, but if you look at Amazon stock here, you can see an absolutely remarkable drop to the downside of around what we're looking at here. Was $20? More than $20 to the downside, and a massive gap on Thursday going into Friday. over obviously concerns with competitors doing extremely well compared to Amazon. 17.5% growth is fantastic, by the way. But when you look at the 40% growth that Microsoft had, you can see we had that absolutely unbelievable gap to the upside on Thursday, a sell-off on Friday, as you can see quite clearly here. But overall, Amazon, this is quite an impressive gap to the downside. You can see we did pretty much recover this V-shape back to the upside here, but a very, very impressive gap. But you can see up in pre-market, like a lot of things are going to be. You can see Nvidia, Tesla, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Google, and Meta seem to all be up in pre-market. Look at this gap for Meta, by the way. Absolutely remarkable. Like, what is this, like a $60 gap to the upside? Up to a new all-time high again, obviously doing extremely well. But you can see a little bit of uncertainty surrounding Amazon's competitive nature with other competing cloud services. And obviously, I think with the tariff wars going on, I think this was quite bearish for Amazon, specifically just because of the amount of importing and exporting that people do with Amazon. I think it's obviously with something, a company like this, that is delivering so many items to people. It's pretty obvious to me this was probably going to get badly affected by a tariff deadline, just because there's so much uncertainty surrounding tariffs for parcels coming in and out of the country. So it's an opportunity for long-term investors or tougher times ahead. Obviously, with tariffs, we might see decreases in growth and decreases in revenue for Amazon. You can see their cloud business is growing, but not fast enough for some investors, as I've said, in comparison to Microsoft's Azure and Alphabet's Google Cloud, which recorded 39% and 32% growth. That's absolutely incredible. Amazon Web Services only 17.5% growth, which is still amazing. But you can see here that Trump has signed an executive order updating the reciprocal tariff rates for many countries, with new rates from 10 to 41% on the August 1st deadline. Markets appear to have thought another extension would be announced, and stocks are down across the board because of Amazon's reliance on international trade. Its stock was hit particularly hard, which is what I just mentioned. So obviously Amazon taking things particularly hard right now. I'll just round this out with some Nvidia news then. You can see Nvidia did dip 2.3%. It's a $30 billion vast data deal. Talks emerge. You can see the pullback comes amid a broad tech weakness and light profit taking following a month-long rally. Obviously, Nvidia has been just going up and up and up and up and up. So I think a few people just basically taking a bit of profit going into the unknown uncertainty of the tariff reaction in the markets as well. You can see, as I said, the context in the market really, really important. The strategic logic of such a move is clear as Nvidia shifts from being a chip provider to a full stack AI infrastructure player. Building an ecosystem that includes software and data services is crucial. So they're diversifying into other systems, and obviously Nvidia doing extremely well, putting their revenue to the use at the minute. One last little bit of news then. Tesla stock is rising. Two reasons it's bouncing back after its autopilot crash ruling. Basically, things have been recovering for Tesla and getting back to normal somewhat. If you look at the charts here, you can see that we have had a bit of a dip to the downside again, but really not that much going on for Tesla. Really, it's just been going sideways like this, as you can see. And right now, looking like we're up in pre-market again, ready for a bounce. Not too much else to say, guys, so I'll wrap it up there. Please do like and subscribe, leave a comment. As always, really appreciate your support. Get involved down in the WhatsApp and Telegram down below for stock picks. We really appreciate you going and checking us out there, and we'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.